Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory have been serving Quad City families and veterans since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds, and are proud supporters of WQPT. Alternatives is a proud supporter of WQPT and has been serving our community for 40 years. Alternatives provides professional guidance to maintain independence and quality of life for older adults and adults with disabilities.
A new leader to chart the course for business and remembering the darkest of human events and what we must learn from it in the cities. Right now, and in the weeks to come, the cities will refocus its attention on a blight on humanity, the Holocaust. But it's more than looking back, it really has to be. We'll have more on that coming up. But first, there's a new leader for the Quad Cities Chamber. Dr. Ladrina Wilson has been selected as Chief Executive Officer of the organization that helps steer the business community. But the Chamber does much more as the city competes with other areas for not only improved businesses, but a stronger and more diverse workforce and a community that's attracted to citizens and potential new residents. We talked with Dr. Wilson about her new role. Dr. Wilson, when you addressed the Chamber of Commerce as the new CEO, you said that you want to reevaluate our priorities and our past practices. That seems to be one of your biggest priorities right now.
Yeah, I think it's really important when you enter an organization that you do your fact finding, right? I think as many people know, I've served on the board prior to accepting this role. And so I have a higher level understanding of the work that's been occurring, but I haven't been closest to the work that in the way that the staff have. And so my intentions are to listen and learn from some of the actions that they take on a regular basis, apply my own lens, as a business professional, but also listen to the investors' voices to find out what they want to see, what they have seen, or what their understanding is, so that we can work more closely together to communicate the value that the chamber adds.
Let's talk about that in particular, because when you think of your father's Chamber of Commerce in the 50s and 60s, it was just a gentleman's club or just a business-oriented club. The bankers were there and all that. The Chamber of Commerce has evolved into something much more and has to in this 21st century economy.
Absolutely. We are embarking upon a dynamic set of tactics and priorities in our work plan. We are in this space of talent attraction and retention, where we are inviting business community members for our small business councils that look like minority-owned businesses. We are working with women-owned businesses, African-American-owned businesses to meet the unique needs of that population. We are also working in our high schools, partnering with our K-12s and colleges and universities around apprenticeships. So certainly knowing that the dynamics of the chamber have changed is an important piece, but also we're a really nimble organization. We found ourselves in COVID meeting the needs of people who weren't members. And I don't think that those needs go away, and we still have a certain degree of accountability to folks in this community who even aren't members. As you look at how chambers are changing and evolving, not just in this community, but across the board, we've got a generation of business owners who aren't joiners. So we need to be exploring our revenue model and what our value is. Our value add is not only for our investors who want to see this be a thriving community, but also for those folks who have needs, irrespective of whether they've figured out how they're going to engage with the chamber. So we're going to take the lessons that we learned in COVID, continue to do outreach to those folks who are in need, and whether that's through networking, whether that's through advocacy, we need to explore all of that because we recognize that we're accountable to the region as a whole.
Now we're coming out of the other side of that wormhole of COVID-19, and man, it's had an impact on business. I mean, it is changing not only how people work, but where they work. It's changed how businesses interact with its clients and customers. It really does seem to be a reset in some ways for the business community.
Right, right. And in order for us to really to do that reset, you have to evaluate where you're at, right? And I think we've been in a lot of different places, and sometimes because you, as you know, Jim, we are involved in economic development, whether it's bringing large employers to the area to meeting the needs of mom and pop organizations. And when you're doing all those things, sometimes the communication can get lost in who you really are working for. So what I'm trying to do is work with our team here to fine tune our messaging and through this evaluation process so that people truly understand what the value proposition of the chamber is.
There are two big elements when it comes to business. There's big business and small business. I'm telling you something you already know so well. I want to talk about big business right now, and that seems to be the need for workers, trained workers, or as you even said, the nimbleness of the economy and the ability to train these workers. Is that still really a huge priority for the chamber?
Absolutely, it is. With our talent attraction and retention, we are trying to develop the people who are already here in this community, whether that's through, like I said, partnerships that we have with our K-12s. We're reaching all the way back into our schools at this point, right? And that hasn't been the history of the chamber, but we're also trying to cultivate the people who are already in positions to get them the skills that they need for advancement, right? So we have a leadership development program that we launched that we reinvigorated and brought back after many years. We have the work that we're doing around business forums to find out what some of the challenges are as they are looking to hire folks. And we've even hosted business forums and conversations around how do we look at our immigrant population and be employers that are open to immigrants who are coming to this community who want to be a part of our community and want to have success just like anyone else, right? So our businesses know that they have to be creative and innovative in filling some of those gaps that they have in the workforce. And we as a chamber are here to help lead that charge by not only getting those people the technical skills that they need or access to new and innovative ways of thinking, but also having more philosophical conversations around who should be participating in the workforce and how are we enabling that.
And then the other side of the coin, of course, is the small business, the real economic engine in so many different ways in a community, and actually one of the biggest hirers that you see in our economy. What will the chamber offer to these entrepreneurs, as you said, these new small businesses that might have 3 employees now but could have 300 in the years to come?
Yeah, we provide a number of services that help businesses of all sizes to not only maintain, but grow and thrive in our community. Our staff, day in and day out, in our business and economic growth branch of the organization, are working to meet with businesses to keep them engaged, to proactively identify what some of their challenges are, and to provide support and resources to help them advance, whether that's through various grant programs that they may not know that they have access to, whether that's through talent pipeline. So we're kind of doing it all. It's just a matter of how do we communicate that to people so that everyone feels like they are valued, right? The small businesses might look at the work that's happening and say, well, that's only for big businesses. And the big businesses might be looking at what the needs of the small businesses are. But we recognize we need to pull all parties to the table, because ultimately we all have accountability to each other for this region to thrive and grow. And so we create spaces at the chamber through our various convenings for that to occur, for us to share a common vision around what does growth look like.
The chamber was very active in a thing called the Big Table. You remember that as well, the round tables that involved community activists and just anybody to talk about what they wanted to see for the Quad Cities for the next 20, 30 years. That type of outreach was really unique for the Quad Cities. What do you think was accomplished from that, and is there a chance to take that a step further now?
Sure. So I will say this, having had the opportunity, I guess it's probably been 6-7 years ago, I hosted about 5 of those sessions, and it was a phenomenal way for community members and, quite frankly, unlikely partnerships and alliances to occur where people from all walks of life came together to get to know each other and also to get to better understand what some of the unique challenges and needs were in the community. As a result of that, a number of social issues that were identified. And we as a chamber recognize that our background is in meeting the unique needs of businesses. What we've done through our leadership program here is we have looked at our community leaders to say, hey, this is a social issue. we want to educate you on corporate social responsibility. How do you show up as it relates to a private business and impacting the larger local region? We also recognize that there was a movement that was Q 2030, and that movement has its own entity, right, as a result of that big table type of thinking. And so we know that we support through our board service and through contributions Q 2030 and executing some of those things that came out of those big table conversations. We'll be working with Q 2030 as they continue the dialogue around the childcare needs in this community and recognizing that that has an impact on workplace and accessibility to your workforce, right? And so we're at the table and we continue to partner with organizations like Q 2030 and United Way of the Quad Cities around these particular issues.
The Chamber's also been very active in marketing the city, all of them, and making sure that, to put it bluntly, that this is a fun place to live, a fun place to celebrate life, a place for families or young professionals to come to make this area more hip, so to speak, to make it more attractive, not only for employers to bring people, but also to keep them here. Are there any new initiatives in that area? Because that's been a major focal point for the Chamber and so many groups in the last few years.
You're absolutely right, Jim. We have expanded our placemaking work. I think the Chamber has been known for a long time around our work in downtown Davenport, but we are very active with our downtown Bettendorf organization, trying to help people better understand that downtown as a place where great things can happen. But we also are working very closely in our relationship in Rock Island, trying to help them move the needle. As you may know, that we worked collaboratively on the $3 million grant that was awarded, and we're looking forward to all that can come to fruition through that grant and helping to revitalize our downtown Rock Island area. We're excited about the work that the city of Moline is doing and championing even on their own, right? So we know that as a region, we have a lot of great assets. The Chamber plays a role in helping to do that, but it comes through collaboration, learning from each other, learning from the best practices of neighboring municipalities, but also not trying to duplicate existing amenities or duplicate existing efforts. And so I think whether it's the Illinois side, who has got some phenomenal things going on, and if folks aren't heading over to Moline this weekend, I don't know what's going on. They're gonna they have their 150th that they're celebrating and some great programming there, and that's part of placemaking, right? They've done that as a city. And we're doing similar things. We had alternating currents in Davenport that our DDP, our downtown partnership, hosted. We've got Red, White, and Boom and a ton of other things that we are involved in and trying to make this a thriving region. And so we are happy to come alongside our neighboring communities who are doing similar work, and also in some spaces we're leading in that work. But we know that it takes a coordinated and collaborative effort.
Our thanks to Dr. Ladrina Wilson, the new CEO of the Quad Cities Chamber. Welcome to September, the end of summer, the start of the fall season, but it's more than pumpkin spice lattes. Laura Adams has a taste of other things you might be interested in when you go out and about.
This is Out and About for September 2nd through 8th. There's so much to do in and around the cities. The Extreme Rock Island Grand Prix, the world's largest pro go-kart street race, takes place in Rock Island the 3rd and 4th. And on the 5th, catch the Rock Island Labor Day Parade starting at 9:30 a.m. On Labor Day, compete or watch the Run with Carl in Bettendorf. And enjoy the Pioneer Village Labor Day Weekend Festival the 4th and 5th in Long Grove. Geneseo's 16th annual Trains, Planes, and Automobiles Festival takes place the 8th through the 10th. The Anne Frank, A History for Today, a new exhibit at the Putnam Museum, is a part of the Out of Darkness cities-wide initiative. My Brother's Gift, the true story of a Holocaust survivor, Ava Schloss, is presented at the Black Box Theater running through the 10th. The Milan Harvest Festival takes place on the 5th, while the 50th anniversary of the Orion Fall Festival continues through the 4th. The first annual Hand in Hand Music Fest is at the Isle of Capri parking lot on the 4th. RME's Live at 5 features Crooked Cactus on the 2nd and Blues Rocket on the 9th, while the musical Disaster continues at Circa 21 through the 10th. Plus, there's time to catch a game at Modern Woodman Park or take a cruise on the Mississippi on the Celebration Bell. For more information, visit WQPT.org.
Thank you, Laura. It seems fitting to name a program about our lives after the Holocaust as Coming Out of Darkness. But have we really found the light? The Cities is looking at that from now until the end of the year as a series of programs and events centering on the Holocaust, its lasting impact, and the lessons still to be learned is held at a number of locations. And we hope you'll join us as WQPT broadcasts a number of programs that help highlight the issue. At the center of the week-long series is the Jewish Federation of the Quad Cities, and its executive director, Alan Ross, joined me to talk about it. Alan, Out of Darkness, Holocaust Messages for Today, it really is a community-wide awareness program. And to me, that seems that's really the point. That's what's most important, is that it's community-wide.
Well, that's correct. And it all started back in January 2020 when I was talking with the Quad Cities Symphony, and they asked me, they were talking about bringing this opera called Out of Darkness to Remain. And I thought it was a great idea. And so what I decided to do, and talking with the symphony, I said, well, why don't we bring other organizations involved like we've done in years past? And maybe we can make this a whole community-wide organization on Holocaust education and the lessons learned today. And they agreed. And so we began to look for other organizations I've worked with in the past, such as the Figge, the Putnam, Ballet Quad Cities, German American Heritage Center, and others. And they were very favorable toward doing this. So that's how it really started. And it snowballed with many organizations wanting to be involved in this project. And one of the best, I guess you could say, the best part of this is we're able to coordinate our activities under one marketing team and one marketing program. So we can help each other, helping bring people to each organization to see their various programs, whether it's an exhibit, whether it's music, whether it's opera, whether it's ballet. So that's what has happened, and it looks like it's going to be a very comprehensive and very informative fall in the Quad Cities.
It even involves like Nahant Marsh. You've got, of course, the libraries involved because, so much is important as far as the written word is concerned. And I did notice that there is one of the programs was about writing, kind of that element of giving your thoughts, sharing your thoughts and experiences, because the Holocaust is deep in some people's memories, but it is very much alive in some ways, is it not?
Well, personally, my father's a Holocaust survivor from Czechoslovakia, so it's very personal to me. And we've had, for many decades now in the Quad Cities, we've had Holocaust education through our Holocaust Education Committee of the Quad Cities. So we've been involved with the schools and other organizations for many years.
Tell me what you think of today's society with the use of social media, with the ability of people to post so many different pieces of information, that it gives kind of a platform to some of these opinions that deny the Holocaust or question its occurrence or its importance to society. Tell me in two different ways, the intellectual way, how that impacts you, but also the emotional way.
Well, it's obviously the good and the bad, because with social media, you're able to reach people and organizations all over the world and interact in many different ways. And so that's the good. And the good part is when you bring positive information and programs to the communities here. But obviously, it gives social media also gives a platform to those extremist organizations that are very harmful. They're very harmful to our to what we're doing for our community. So it's the blessing and the curse, and we have to work as hard as we can to try to offset these negative messages that come out.
We know of it on the national stage. I mean, you hear some of the ugly talk. You know of some of the things that are said and done. Are we seeing that at all at the local level?
Well, I've always said this community is probably one of the best communities for working together. Virtually all of our ethnic and religious groups work together in a very close way. If one of us has been threatened in the past, other organizations step in and help us. So we really have, fortunately, we have not seen a lot of what we see in other communities in terms of negativity, racial discrimination, things such as that. We've been very fortunate here, and we want to keep it that way.
I like the theme of this program, Out of Darkness, the common theme that it has an impact on today's society. What do you see from Out of Darkness? What do you see that as? I mean, does that have a special meaning, do you think, as far as this program is concerned?
Well, I think what we're really trying to do here is all the organizations trying to teach the history of the Holocaust, but much more importantly, what are the lessons learned? What are the lessons learned from that darkness that we can utilize today? How can we improve our society today by learning what happened back then? You know, we have to do whatever we can to examine what happened with the Holocaust in terms of the lack of human rights, in terms of lack of diversity back then, and so we're trying to bring what happened back then, bring it up to the future here, and how are we as a society going to learn from that? You know, we have special difficult issues today in our community all throughout the United States in terms of we have to dealing with cancel culture, we're dealing with censorship, we're dealing with lack of trust. And so how can we overcome those negativities, especially here in our community, especially in our schools? So that's what we hope to, one of the things we hope to accomplish here is for especially student groups. We would do whatever we can to get them to these very exhibits or these various, whether it's the exhibits, whether it's the opera, whether it's the ballet. And we hope that the teachers will prepare the students for what they're going to see or hear, attend the event, attend the exhibit, and then talk about that. What happened during the Holocaust? What is happening now? And how can we improve our trust? How can we improve working together? How can we deal with human rights? And that's what really, one of the big things we're hoping out of this is that these type of things happen and that there is plenty of reflection about the past and how can we deal with it today.
Our thanks to Alan Ross, Executive Director of the Jewish Federation of the Quad Cities. Now, once again, WQPT is proud to have a number of programs that help highlight the issue, and we welcome you to click on our homepage at WQPT.org or check out our monthly program guide to find out more. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory have been serving Quad City families and veterans since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds, and are proud supporters of WQPT. Alternatives is a proud supporter of WQPT and has been serving our community for 40 years. Alternatives provides professional guidance to maintain independence and quality of life for older adults and adults with disabilities.